Welcome to Coast with round two now in the books. Coming up on this episode, we've got Premiership Hawk, former Eagle Xavier Ellis. He's going to join me to discuss the Lions matchup. Certainly played on the heartstrings for all fans out there. Well and truly in control of the first half, then getting reined back in by the eventual benchmarks of the competition. So plenty to dissect with the great man. Still an amazing response from the disappointment that was the season opener for fans to really get behind. Something to build from a long season to come. So later in the week, we're going to have a couple of goal-kicking superstars. We've got Oscar Allen, Jake Waterman. They're going to be in the newly furbished Coast to Coast podcast room. I'm in charge of the tech, so every chance that recording will never see the light of day. But you never know. Comment on this video, or if you do have a question for the lads, you can get on the reply for the Instagram story and get your yarns into them. They're keen to hear from you. The Waffle Eagles, they've knocked off Peel Thunder in the Pracky game, the second practice game. It's an unbelievable result, massive, great for club morale and for that program that's up and running. We'll continue to cover the Waffle a little bit more extensively when the real season gets underway in a couple of weeks. Now, if you're keen to come along to watch the boys at Optus Stadium this year, the 4-game multi-pass is a great and affordable option. You can use the 4 tickets in one game, or go solo for an entire month. Or you can link up with a mate for a couple of games. The possibilities, well, they're not endless, but there's a fair few of them there. So head to westcoasteagles.com.au/membership. All right, enough time has passed. Let's get to the Big X. All right, I'm joined for the first time this year, Xavier Ellis, Swaggy X. Now, you got to be completely honest here with me, mate. I know we got done by 13 points last year. It was a competitive effort. But after that round one showing against the Suns, did you see that coming? They had 18 premiership players out there. Did you give us a chance pre-game?
Honestly, Thumper, absolutely no chance. And I did write in the paper this week that just get into the game and stay in the game at halftime. And they did far more than that. They were so impressive early, especially. And I think to go in at halftime and be, well and truly in the game, and as Minnie said after the game, there's opportunities to go away with the game. I didn't anticipate that. The premiers from last year, off the back of what the Gold Coast Suns did, I actually was sitting there with a big grin on the face, as I'm sure a lot of Eagle supporters were, that so many times over the last 3 or 4 years, at quarter time, the game's been done and dusted. And this game was well and truly alive, into the last quarter, which is fantastic.
Well, you had these Brizzy legends taking the field pre-game, right? You got Acker and Lethal and Blackie, like blokes you'd admire, or I feared as a junior Pies supporter back in the day. Let's not bring that up. They're unfurling the flag. All the motivation in front of the home fans are there to come out swinging. But it seems the redemption piece maybe from the Eagles might have played a sizable role. You go 5-0 with the head start, and you're putting the Premiers on the back foot from the get-go.
Yeah, when you travel away from home, mate, there's only one thing you need to worry about, and that's start the game well. And as you said, the unfurling of the flag. But I was more interested to see whether Ackermanis and Lee Matthews were talking. Of course, they had their famous bust-up at the end of Acker's time in Brisbane. I think Acker might have been a bit of a pain in the backside there. But
you see any cracks then, if you were monitoring it closely?
No cracks. And we're side by side. It was like the redemption piece. They were friendly, but you look at those guys, and I tagged Simon Black one day, and I think he had nearly 40. So I look at those guys, and as so many others do, of course, where you've got Michael Voss, Lappin, Black, not to talk about those past legends too much. But, yeah, today was a day that, that they could have, and we're probably hoping to put the game to bed early. And on the road, you've just got to take the home crowd out of it early if you can. And for so many years now at West Coast, hasn't been able to happen. And it did today by kicking those goals early. And the confidence was up. And the players that needed to start the game really well started well. Like Fly and Ryan, I know he's done some stuff around the midfield the last year or so and done some centre bounces. I love Flying in the forward half and just let him try and kick some goals. He's dangerous. He's twitchy. And it was, one of those games where I think Brisbane, and I think everyone probably thought that they were just going to turn up, get the points and go home. But credit to the midfield at West Coast, because they were probably the initial line that let them down last week. That midfield against the Suns, and G. Baker and Kelly and Hall. I think Hall had 7 clearances. I mean, they all just put their nose in the trough and really got to work.
Well, that start had the Lions backline just arguing amongst themselves at quarter time. Is there a better sight from a footy player when you see the oppo doing that? You know you've got them.
Oh, no, absolutely. And I think that was probably, when you really think about it, the difference in the end was I thought Harris Andrews, or I noticed during the call today, Durham was just calling their players by their first name, Harris, and there was quite a Lockie and all the boys.
Is he rounding into form as well? Is he?
Yeah, I think so. Eric, big Eric, all that sort of stuff. Anyway, I digress. But yeah, you're right. When you get them arguing at the end of the game, I think that last quarter, Harris Andrews, Lester, Zorko, the experience really, really did stand up. And every time we went forward, unfortunately, that leadership and that experience shone, and at times our forwards were out of place. But when you go in at quarter time and the leaders are arguing, don't get me wrong, there's an element of leaders arguing. It's not a bad thing. It's often productive to resolve what's happened out there. But you don't mind. And of course, I was a bit of a smart ass too, so I didn't mind having a bit of that going on just to see how well they were holding up. But I must say, when the goals were just rolling in early, and those older Brisbane players, they started looking like they were old. They started looking like it wasn't 30, it was 40 degrees.
Well, let's get on to the start very quickly. I thought as long as we got off to a better one than the Fox commentary team, we'd be going all right. Have a listen to this one if you missed it.
Our Hall of Fame analyst up in the box, the 5-time day, 5-time night, Dermot Brereton is here. G'day, Derm. And also,
G'day, Cobb. He's finally got the microphone on. That's on me.
Now, Thumper, I can't throw stones about being crossed to and not having an opinion, or not having a microphone, or not having a headset that works. I must say, when you're doing the boundary, it is a very, very ordinary job to start with. And I must say, you can hardly hear. You've got a wireless thing going on. You've got two microphones, one that doesn't work, one that does work. I must admit, it is hard work, but I also do enjoy, and I still remember in the cricket when the hot mic picked up, can't throw, can't bowl, or whatever that saying was. But I did enjoy the hot mic, of course, involving Harley Reid today.
And a run, extend the arms and intercept mark.
Archer Reid, the younger brother of Essendon Zach.
Is that a fair call? Do you think there's a bit of He-Man about it, X?
I think at the moment, look, Harley's Harley, mate. You can do what you want. I don't really care, to be honest with you. You can dress like Tarzan, play like Jane, whatever it is. Do what you want with your hair, Thumper, because you and I don't really have too much happening with the hair that's any appeal to anyone. So I don't mind a bit of He-Man action.
Let's go back to the first 4 goals of the game. We hadn't done that in the entirety of the 2024 season, but we've bounced out of the gates, and Tim Kelly sort of started in emphatic fashion. He's around the contest with superb early doors, gives the first one to Dewar. The Eagles are on the board. You think there was a bit of a rocket behind closed doors, or you think it was a bit of personal pride coming out with perhaps one of your quietest game as a West Coast Eagle to date against the Suns last week?
No, I think some of those players, you don't really need to give them a rocket. I'm sure Andrew McQualter, after one game, is not going to fire too many bullets either. But, I mean, if you watched the Gold Coast game and you said, righto, midfield v midfield, line up, we're going to run a 2K time trial. Last week, it looked as though the first 5 or 6 players across the line from midfield v midfield were all going to be Gold Coast players. They just couldn't keep up. They were clearly outworked. And I reckon Tim Kelly, he probably doesn't need Andrew McQualter saying too much after one round. I think he knows personal pride. Liam Baker going in there too was spectacular early, especially that first 10 minutes. You needed leadership, you needed courage, you needed tough people around the footy, and they did that. So, I'm sure they were well aware personally that they let themselves down, their personal brand. As footballers the week before, and Tim Kelly, and I mean, Tyrell Dewar to get going so well, 14 disposals, 2 goals in the first half. That's your welcome to AFL moment, isn't it? You know, when you realise that, gee whiz, I'm playing against the Premiers, I'm in Brisbane, it's bloody hot, and he was standing up. I mean, that was probably the highlight of the day for me.
Yeah, he was absolutely on fire in the first stanza. I thought Cripper was everywhere setting the tone as well. He's chasing lines to prevent snags. He's telling security guards to get out of the way. I've just got to dob this one on the boundary if you wouldn't mind just scooching over a little bit. It wasn't bad from the bloke who's getting on in the years.
I'm telling you what, every year there's 1 or 2 occasions where security feel like they have right of way that they feel like, oh no, I'm not moving, and you're like, mate, get out of the way. I'll move your stuff. Let's be friends about it. There's no dramas here. But I reckon every year they refuse to move their stuff. And of course, last year we remember that security guard that walked on the field to separate the wrestle.
That was a good one.
That was a bloody ripper. But Jamie Cripps, he's also one of those players too that. One, he's been an incredible player for West Coast. He's built his career around work rate. And the week before, work rate didn't shine in anyone's game. So, he just got back to what he does so well. And that's run up and down the ground and provide that leadership and the running stuff that not too many people put their hand up to do. It's a tough role. What do they call it? The graveyard shift, the role that Cripper does. And, to be up and down the ground. And often you don't get to steal an Andrew Embley phrase that's overused too often. You don't often get the lick of the ice cream doing that stuff. So it was good to see Cripper get involved.
Maybe one of the reasons, X, why everyone was a bit on edge about where this result might go against the Lions. You've got your All-Australian full forward that's pulled out through injury. You've got Jack Graham at the 11th hour. He's taken out, who was arguably in the best maybe 3 against the Suns, who had a dip, 10 tackles around the contest. Hutchinson, who's had a belter pre-season. And you've got Clay Hall heading over, on the Saturday, I believe. It wasn't quite from the pie stands like you at Subi on that fateful night, but that's real late doors for a bloke to come in and, as you said, did so well around the contest in his 3rd game.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I think sometimes too, Thumper, that young kids can often play the game in their head 10, 20 times before they actually get to the ground, over the days leading in. So sometimes it's not the end of the world to be not thinking you're in, not thinking it's your opportunity. And then lo and behold, you're standing next to Lachie Neale at these stoppages, and you think, "Wow, how my weekend's changed." Seven clearances. You get the match payment as well, which also helps. I don't know what that is, $3 or $4 grand. So well done to him. But it's also one of those things they say too is, often when you're in the team, it's harder to get out. So West Coast clearly need to go down the path of playing kids and getting experience in these guys because Mini hasn't had the opportunity to really shape the list. He came in, so he needs to make up his mind around some of these kids he probably doesn't know a great deal about, but certainly a good first up appearance. And you're right, when you lose Jake the Snake Waterman, a crowd favourite, at the Gabba, you're thinking things might be a bit tough, but I can't imagine too many turn up Monday to review and they're really nervous about the vision that Andrew McWalter's going to show. If anything, it was probably fitness and talent in the end that just got them over the line. It wasn't effort, it wasn't competitiveness, it wasn't contest. It was one of those things that probably the experience was, as I mentioned, the difference in the end.
You talk about Clay Hall saying his weekend looks a bit different. Well, was it? Would he have been standing on Nat Fyfe in the waffle against Peel? Is it like you can go down this road for this Brownlow medalist or you can go the other way?
Yeah, who do you want to get your ass beaten by? But no, it is funny. And I actually did enjoy. I know Lachie Neale had 35 touches or whatever it was. But I think tagging is important in the game. I mean, you watch James Jordan's done it the last couple of weeks and tagged Lachie Neale. But I think for West Coast to really get back to what they needed to do after a really poor round one, it was pride, it was competitiveness. It wasn't tagging. It was, find your opponent, beat your opponent. And I know Lachie had 35, so at the end of the day, he looks like he's had a massive day. But I reckon for growth in the side and cohesion going forward, I think that was a good coaching move by Mini by just saying, Clay Hall, for example, he's yours, so good luck. And 7 clearances later, he's shown that he can do it in congestion.
Is it time to talk about the third quarter yet, X? It was hard to watch. We're searching to break their run of Lions goals, right? So you've gone from posters to Shane Warne, just benders that's turned 10 metres on the goal line for flying shot. Or should we just jump right into the 15-metre rule? Where do you want to go from here?
Thumper, you tell me where you want to go, mate. But I would say that third quarter, let me just get the actual score that happened in that third quarter.
Oh, you're getting stats now, X. Don't stray from what's been working, mate.
No. I'm just going to say 5 goals 3 to 1 goal 6. Well, that's the difference. It was 8 scoring shots to 7, but unfortunately, the king of spin had his presence at the Gabba and the green top. I know that the umpires couldn't bounce the ball straight in the centre bounce all day, but they certainly hit a crack in the wicket in that forward line. But I did think that it was probably reasonable that the umpires said, "Look, we're having a shit one here. Let's just start hurling it up." I thought that was pretty good.
The fan MVP is back for 2025. Will anyone dethrone the big loosh, Jake Waterman, after he took out the crown last year? Pick your best on ground from the weekend's game by visiting win.wce.com.au, with one voter being picked out as the lucky winner and $100 voucher coming their way. Plus, there's the grand prize winner who's going to collect 2 tickets to the John Worsfold Medal and a chance to present this year's Fan MVP Award on the night. Awesome, so get voting. Hey, Cramp was the storyline of the second half. So you got Big Bailey Williams, who was on top of Big O, I reckon. He's gone down, they've subbed him out. Then Archer Reed starts in the fourth. They had a shot of his calf that was just bulging like he was Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime, just having a leg day. You got Jinby. I was like, mate, how about you go do some ruck work in the fourth quarter? Not too many people seeing that coming. Describe what it's like when Cramp is that bad that you just can't compete anymore.
Yeah, well, firstly, I thought Bailey, as you said, was on top. It only gets 67 minutes out. I know it was hot. Probably he needs to make a tweak or two to his preparation because he was having a game. And then, 67 minutes and the flow and effect. And then little Archer Reed, big Archer Reed, experienced Archer Reed. His leg went. And I'm telling you, when your leg goes, it just you cannot straighten that leg. It is torturous. It is painful. I got cramped one game in my first year where when people get knocked out or whatever and they don't have to go through the race, through the gates, you just go straight off to the side. I sent a message to the bench saying I can't get to the other side. I can't come. You're gonna have to come get me. So that I was done for the day.
Cramp, you haven't been stretched it off with Cramp, have you, X?
No. Yeah. Let's not muck around in those areas. Certainly not. But I did not return to the game. I will say that much. But I enjoy. Now the game is going, I think, away from big bigs. I think it is, and I don't mind. I didn't want, of course, Jinby rucking against Ruben rucking against Big O. That's 205 centimetres v a tall halfback flank midfielder. But I'm not against him as second option ruck. I think that his attributes that we hear about all the time, he wins the running, his repeat speed, he's strong. I think that there is room in the game for him to, if he is having a bit of a quiet game or you want to get an extra midfielder around the ball. I know clubs are doing it more and more. Paddy Cripps sometimes takes the stoppages around the ground. Nash for Hawthorn takes the stoppages around the ground. I wouldn't be against saying, all right, when Bailey's off, Ruben, go in there and you can ruck for a while and see if you can find the football and run amok, because when you're playing half back and you're an elite runner, sometimes you don't get the opportunity to show that. So I'm not against him being the second ruck at times.
All right, watch this space. Perhaps a career in it, says Xavier Ellis. What about the play that stopped for as long as it did with Hoff tackle in the second term? The teams are thinking you've got to pay one way or the other, and they've genuinely frozen. I was smacking the TV, thought the Wi-Fi went out. I thought, nah, it's busted. It's like, oh, no, hang on a minute. Everyone is waiting for someone else to make a call and do something. Have you seen a play stop for as long as that ever in your life?
Yeah, no, and the only person who really clicked on it quickly was Will Ashcroft, who handballed it off himself or lost the ball to start with, and he didn't hear the whistle. But I'm not quite sure what the players were thinking. I mean, it's the Gabba. Was there 30,000 there? I've never seen it like that. And funnily enough, actually, I do remember one of probably the worst umpired games I've ever seen was an Essendon game where they stopped a few times. It was an Anzac Day game, I reckon, and the players kept stopping for free kicks that were never paid, and then everyone was turning around looking at the umpires going, what are you doing? But the old adage, as they say, and I know that it's a smart-ass one, play to the whistle, play to the whistle. But yeah, no, that was interesting. Of course, the standing there watching the ball, everyone standing around like it's a little fire warming some marshmallows was interesting.
All right, Minnie McWalter said it was a serious performance in the waffle on the weekend against Peel. I have no doubt you're scrubbing the vision tonight before you go to sleep for your 4 a.m. alarm clock, X. But are we keeping an eye out for anyone that played in that game to be making a derby appearance next week, or do you think there's more returning that's going to struggle to keep them with their opportunity?
No, and as I said, I don't think anyone's going to be thrown under the bus by Minnie. I mean, he could have made 10 changes last week if he wanted to. If he felt like there was 10 better options, I wouldn't have been surprised if he did wield the axe hard. But you would be really unlucky to be dropped off the back of today. I think everyone would say the effort that they put in matches the level of an AFL footballer. So Derby, and of course last year going in underdogs in a Derby and getting the chocolates that can happen, and proofs in the pudding in the last 12 months. So if you're in the waffle, I think that you might not. I wouldn't be sitting by the phone on a Thursday night. Maybe go get some frozen yogurt, because I don't know if Minnie's going to call you. But hopefully, players like the Snake and that are closer to, and Graham, of course, are closer to returning than they're not playing. But the waffle's there. They need a strong performance with the waffle. Clarko used to always say that we need the waffle to meet the expectations of the senior side, to put pressure on teammates, which is healthy. But the last couple of years we've seen it sort of fall away a little bit. So hopefully that numbers and stuff can, the senior list can have a full bloody dress rehearsal, and that'll just create numbers down the waffle, and performances should match that.
No, I'm pumped for it. RAC Derby number 60 on Sunday afternoon. What's your best Derby memory that you were involved in, X?
Best Derby memory? We played 2015. And I know we lost the grand final that year, but that was really the moment I reckon we really realised we were quite good. We probably beat them by 50 points or something. But the first time the Derby that year, I think they might have kicked the first 8 goals, Freo, and absolutely slaughtered us round 2 or 3, round 2015. And that was just a moment that we realised that, finals and grand finals, and didn't end up being a premiership. But it was always good to use Freo as a bit of a benchmark, because back then they were bloody good, and they're pretty good now. So I think anytime you can get a victory over your rival is something that you cherish and remember. I only had one, so that was a bit of a shame. But any moment you can get a Derby victory. I kicked a pretty good goal in the Derby when we were coming hard, but unfortunately that didn't help. But I do remember fist pumping and carrying away, because you do get so sucked into the environment. And the joy that it's a home and away game. Yeah, I get that. It's a bit like Hawthorn and Geelong. It's a home and away game, but it just means a little bit more. You don't like Fremantle, and Fremantle don't like you, and it's not often that usually you're pretty neutral throughout the season with opponents, and you just don't particularly like the Dockers, and I'm good friends with a few of them, but. I had great joy in playing on Mick Barlow and him getting subbed off at halftime. That was one of the most joyous moments of my life. I thought he'd done his hamstring. I rang him after the game just to make sure he was okay, and he was out going for a run, a 10K run, because he was so annoyed that Ross subbed him off at halftime. So that actually probably is my Derby moment I cherish the most.
From what, you giving him a bath? Has he been taken off, said, mate, you're not going to get back into the second half. X has you covered. Why don't you go shower up?
This is true. Now, I wasn't solely playing on him. He was playing forward. Mick Barlow was a superstar, but he was a midfielder. At halftime, he went in and got a serve by Ross the boss, and Ross said to him something like, Mick, you've got 10 minutes. You've got 10 minutes. If you don't lift, you're done. Anyway, Mick looks at the board, and he was starting on the bench. He was like, well, there's 5 of me minutes. I'm not even going to get on the ground. Anyway, Mick reckons he jumped up. He jumped up, ready to get on, and he's buzzing, and Ross the boss has fizzed him up. And as he's standing there, one of the staff members at Fremantle walked over, slapped the red vest on his chest, and said, "Not your day today, Mick," and subbed him out. He did not return after half time. Didn't get back on the ground.
Flattening. All right, X, before you leave us, we're going to go to home improvement, all right? There's a lot happening around the Ellis household. I visited there Saturday. It was a bit of a madhouse. You had plenty of kids. It was almost like a creche there for a little bit. You got a lot going on. Why don't you run me through what's going on with this Instagram post you've done where you're beautifying yourself here on the couch? Got a good routine going. I thought you might want to explain yourself to the Eagles faithful and tell me what all this is about on the home front.
Look, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. That's just the softer side. I mean, everyone likes some smooth skin. Everyone likes a good night's sleep. So before I rest the big fat head on a couple of pillows, I like to have a facial. I don't know if it's coming through the camera as we speak, but I can tell you right now, that's not oily. That's just natural oils. It's not over the top, and it's just something I like to do on the regular.
I'm not sure High Def is our friend, X, but weren't you telling us about going for runs with them? Because you're training for this HBF run for a reason. And yet you had a bit of a mental battle on the weekend, didn't you?
Mate, I am running a bit at the moment, I must say.
Good Nick.
Bookend the weeks. No, horrible Nick. Absolutely horrible Nick. I've got to lose weight, and I am trying. But My wife is far, far better athletically than I am, mentally tougher, funnier, faster, better endurance, better athlete, better everything. And she's started to come for runs with me, but she feels as though if we go for a jog together, we should run next to each other and talk. Now, I remember my first ever game, my first ever trip over interstate. I sat next to Chance Bateman, of course, who's coaching at West Coast, and Changa, I sat down and said, "How are you, Chang?" And he goes, "Good." And I said, "Oh, where are you starting on the weekend?" He said, "Wing." And then he said, "That's 2 questions. You've only got 3 for the whole trip, so shut up." Anyway, I reckon I'm going to have to implement something similar for him because I can't talk and run, mate, and I am so slow. She's much faster than I am, but then sits next to me. So I feel like there's pressure on that I need to kick it up 10 to 15%, but I don't have the 10 to 15%. So a K later, I've got a stitch. I'm parched. I'm dehydrated. I'm arguing with M. But anyway,
you're getting mentally destroyed about should I be conversing or should I be concentrating on the run?
Trying to be a good person and talk, but mate, when you're out there, like I'm battling demons out there. I'm battling demons. I'm pounding the pavement, battling demons. So if you do see me around town, I'm doing the 12Ks for HBF or whatever it is for work. But yeah, I do 10Ks a couple of times a week, and then a little one in between. I'll tell you what, if the sea breeze kicks in, there's half a chance I'll go backwards. I go that slow, but anyway, I'm enjoying it by myself. It's a good time for me to be by myself and not with people talking who are finding it far easier than I am.
Xavier Ellis, you're a unique individual, but it's great to see you having a crack for the HBF run for a reason. Thanks for joining us here on Coast to Coast, the maiden performance. I think we'll catch up with you after the next away game. Until then, all the best, great man. We'll speak to you.
Nah, all good, Thump. Good to speak to you, mate. And without the 4 points, it's still not the result you want, but I must say it was an effort the boys can be proud of.